Welcome back to the NECC. It's Friday Night Lights edition. I'm Hailmonayman in the booth alongside Bearlight as we get into yet another fight here, Bear. Last one on deck. It's gonna be, oh, is that wind? No. Is that precious metal? Is that royalty? It's the Queen's Golden Gaels versus, of course, OTSU with the Ridgebacks.
NECC comes on to challenge this Golden Gaels team and Queens, of course. Me and the Queen City will have a keen appreciation. We've also seen this team in the past, Hailmonayman, and we've seen them perform pretty well. Let's see who they have coming onto the pitch here this evening as we check out the rosters for these two squads. When it comes to this Queen's Golden Gaels side, we've got Simba Boom, Wizro, which we've seen plenty of last semester, that is, and Twinkle Toes back on to round out this roster.
You know, so it's always good to be able to see a very, I guess, experienced group. And I mean, this is actually one of the most senior groups I think that we'll see in any given roster for most of our divisions. This is the Challenger division. This is that kind of that mid-tier between everything. It used to be that second stepping stone before Champions, but now with Legends in the mix, it's go figure. But you got two seniors, a junior, a grad student, as well as another junior in it. So you're really seeing a group in Queens that is trying to, carry as much of this legacy with the Golden Gaels esports just platform as they can until they get some more coming through those doors. But let's check out who's going to be against them, as you got Ontario Tech coming straight through as well with Dexter, Kazarife, and Muhammad. That will be able to just get their next rotations in, and it's nearly just the same except for the single freshman with Dexter.
That's right, coming in fresh. And fun fact about Dexter, well, it only takes him 59 seconds to cook up minute rice. Very, very speedy individual. So we'll see if that translates to Rocket League or if he just keeps it in the kitchen. Freshman ready to go. We've got this game ready to go. Game one it is between this best of 5 of the Battle of Ontario.
Got Rhodesian Ridgebacks, which I continue to have just a wrinkle in the back of my brain as to figure out where I've heard of that breed before. But I'm definitely maybe just seeing it here with Ontario Tech in the orange, opposite of where I expect them to be in blue. I guess it was just too much blue and mascot and otherwise. That is trying to bear down upon the Queen's Golden Gaels. That's, again, under pressure. And this is starting to look a little bit like Deja Vu, Bear. Very similar to what we saw in that previous series opening.
Yeah, it was try to poke some holes in the defense, find a little bit of a spot, but then, defenses to shut them down. And currently, we're seeing the same pattern here. But we're also seeing an opportunity. Ontario Tech tries to throw it towards that box, but it will be shut down, and Kazarife right back out of the zone looking for that pass. But we'll find Wizro instead. We've seen it all the way the length of the pitch, and it'll be Ontario Tech having to try and start from their own end. Well, they do have a little bit of trouble. They'll leave it for Wizro. He'll leave it off the back wall. A chance it comes right back down to the extra touch to do just enough to keep it out for Ontario Tech.
This will be a foot race that's very swiftly won. Queen's Golden Gaels. Oh my goodness. They were left all upfield as the Ridgebacks for Ontario Tech. They just were able to just bring it forward very swiftly. Unfortunate because it looked like they had a great passing play set up. All three were able to get a nice piece of it, but the third man recommitted after they went forward. So that's going to be Ontario Tech that finds that first punish.
And sometimes you just have to mix it up. Throw a curveball when you're transitioning back down the field, and what will happen is you'll have a miscommunication between the midfielders as far as who wants to play third man and get back, and I think that's what happened there. Maybe perhaps another bump. We did see a demo on the way back. We do see an opportunity as well. Quick answer here as Twinkle Toes will get Queen's Golden Gaels on the board.
They self-profess that they have 0 eyes, but I guess as they are just all closed, looking through their eyelids, X-ray vision, find the back of the net regardless, and that was just a great touch. They don't put a lot of heat behind it. In fact, they put it behind the defender, so good placement on that shot to find an immediate response that keeps you from being in a deficit for too long, and then inspires a bit of confidence.
And that confidence goes a long way at this Challengers division. It's a division that shows plenty of talent, but also, where we see them struggle sometimes is that consistency. And what can be a big difference maker is the confidence coming in, knowing and trusting in your ability to create plays, whether it be a mechanical play, whether it be positional, or both. Hopefully you're looking for the combination of the two. But either way, that confidence will strive you a little bit further and further. As Rizzo will look to press to the box here. Defense needs to get up to it for Ontario Tech. They're a little bit slow to it, but they are able to get to it at the end of the day. And the Queens try to get back out. That was a great back pass and fly, but Wizro was just a little bit off the mark.
Look at those. Doesn't have any extra resources, no boost in the tank. Don't really to just kind of be a decoy. Wizro has been doing, I think, the lion's share of current possession as well as challenges out in midfield. And they're one of the big reasons why we do have Queens Golden Gales on the board in the first place. Simba Boom will miss out, and now it's going to be Ontario Tech sent on a brief retreat. Look how they are sweeping across this field already. Up and just trying not to spill the spaghetti. That was a second chance, but they find just the tiniest piece underneath that ball. And this one should be a free net. Oh, they don't complete the run.
That's unfortunate for Ontario Tech, but it's still a decent sign just because now you know the tendencies. Queens Golden Gales are jumping out way too far, and that's multiple times we've seen it. So you got to catch on to that pattern. Just think, hey, next time we have to capitalize on it, but at least we know where the advantage is to be. And we'll see if they can continue to capitalize. Right now, Mohammed has struggled off that back wall, allows Rizro to come in, fill in that gap. And Simba Boom to do the same. We'll use the corner. Now looking around, looking for a potential bump. You know, the Rizro will jump onto it in the box. Yet again, they have trouble centering it. And it will fall back to Dexter, who's being pestered. Here in the corner, it's Twinkle Toes. He'll turn and try to play it to the box. He'll be cut off. Back to it, though. Dexter in an awkward spot and not able to get it out. Twinkle Toes from a difficult angle will give the Golden Gales a 2-1 lead.
That was the third transition straight across the net before this very tight angle shot was able to manifest itself for Twinkle Toes. And they really just take advantage of that angle, how close it is, and the defender just at least not being elevated to meet it. So Queens Golden Gales, they find ample opportunities. They didn't quite have a lot straight in dead center of the net, but they eventually are able to turn it into a lead. Now Ontario Tech got to see if they can turn their offense up in this less than 1 minute of play.
It's all about taking advantage of this opportunities like they missed earlier in this game. You know, once you get back to it, we want to see that. Otherwise, they might be in trouble too. But only time will tell. Wizro, in the meantime, will try to get that bump off the back line. There's nothing to be. This will bounce down. Out the center field. Mohammed already up for it. Good speed, but he's beat to it anyways. As Dexter will now have to try to get to it. A big miss, but another big miss on the shot too. Almost got the angle to recover, but couldn't find it. Now look out. Transition, Ontario Tech, and Mohammed chips it as the defense couldn't get to it. Sloppy play both ways, but if you're Ontario Tech, you take it.
One big miss deserves another, I guess, and that's unfortunate for Twinkle Toes. They were trying to clear it to the side to keep anyone from getting a counterplay out of it, but that turns into extra heat and velocity to go on to that next shot. Muhammad, well, you know what? They needed someone to come in big, and that one could turn into a clutch moment that Ontario Tech brings the other direction. It's been the Golden Gales really storming and norming, trying to perform on this back end, and now under duress as they continue to press forward. It's going to be the Ridgebacks looking to just get this one through, but no, they escape with it. And so we go to OT. Maybe a late steal here, Bear. Got to see who really kind of finds that balance.
And I'm keeping an eye on Queens here because Queens has played so aggressively, and you imagine it would be a less aggressive approach here in overtime, but you never know. You never really want to make huge adjustments in overtime because the second that you get uncomfortable, especially at this level, they will be able to take advantage of it. Right now, it just seems to be that they're a little bit slow to challenges defensively. That'll allow a shot on net, but it was high. And that will fall back down to Mohammed, who will just elect to let up on it a little bit. Get it into the hands of a teammate in Dexter, who will push forward with the bump, but Simba recovers just in time to jump out to it. Dexter tries to hit the ceiling, but this one back in the zone for Queens as they try to escape the zone.
Ontario Tech's kind of struggling to just get handles on this ball. They worked so hard at the perimeter just to be able to get it out and move it forward. Golden Gales not exactly been efficient either. See some of this fancy footwork, a nice undercut there, and that's gonna be Twinkle Toes on the jumper, and they have to require Simba Boom to come back to their own backboard and slap it there in, but they still find open field space. So both of these teams right now are giving up the midfield trying to work so hard for the perimeter to give themselves that fourth man, that third and a half, to just be able to use this wall, good defense, and even better counter to be able to get out some space.
Dexter was trying to locate Mohammed, went a little bit wide with it. That allows Simba to push it back in. Wizro was kind of just hanging out there, though. Let's find Twinkle Toes. And not really typically effective positioning there, but it was able to at least allow him to keep the pressure on. Wizro waits around, hangs out, waiting for Mohammed to make any kind of move, but the comms from his teammates will come through and allow him to push even further. That touchback aim for Twinkle Toe, but cut off by the Ontario Tech defense.
Like Wizro might have gotten a tiny piece of it, but that was definitely Ontario Tech standing majority in the way. Wizro is now have a little bit of a thief in front of him as Kazarife was able to find that ball. Now everything fairly neutral out in midfield yet again. It's been Ontario Tech that's really not had many chances to get onto offense here, at least in overtime. And I think the majority of that, you've been looking at the Golden Gaels. They've been looking pretty royal. Another chance, good read as Kazarife was the first interceptor of that would-be attack, and you've seen so much extra space taken up. Now Mohammed left in a look over their shoulder sort of situation and pray that no one was bearing down upon them, but then they don't find much thereafter. Into the corner we go, and we're already a half a game into this overtime. We still are just looking for a game one winner. Oh, and hits the crossbar again.
Just that close. But now the follow for Wizro was available. That one's a little bit high too. Couple opportunities missed. Twinkle Toes off the corner will try and play it back to midfield, but you're right. It just seems like they give up that space so easily, and both teams are guilty. But at the same time, you know, when you have that open space to work with, if you're given it, I'd like to see a little bit more settling down. I'd like to see more ball control in the middle. Let the defense come to you, get a flick over to them, get them to commit, and that'll open up all sorts of space in the box on your opponent's defensive line.
Yeah, because you're not really seeing them in a timely fashion finding any physical plays. Kazarife is coming up a rung too short on that ladder, and yet it is still climbed by their second man. That's why you got that kind of depth rotation. No one's on the back wall, and that's actually going to be Mohammed that is looking for another clutch-up moment. And Kazarife, they couldn't land fast enough to take advantage of that positioning. And then Mohammed is telling them to back up. They're going to try and turn this into a quick wing, a 2v3 upfield. Wizro, bit awkward. They backflip and nearly give away the winning shot opportunity to Ontario Tech. Wizro, again, will not have a much boost for them either. And this Twinkle Toes that really has been a catalyst for change a few different times. Simba Boom wants to do the same thing, and this becomes a 2v2 upfield. Dexter just drops it to the corner, but we're now at the 4-minute mark.
This one, Waterfall down, dangerous play. Wizro again will come up with that save. Yes, we continue to tick later and later, or extend this overtime rather. That falls down. Too much time taken there by Golden Gaels. Luckily for them, Simba Boom was back in Twinkle Toes with a great recovery effort and read in order to just strump back completely, right back towards the goal line in order to make that save. Now they'll continue the pressure though. Dexter up. He's looking for a bump, or maybe he just missed. Either way, it falls right to Queens, and they'll play out.
Nearly a full extra game. You guys want to be in game 2? Well, guess what? You still have to wait. We're in game 1. Nearly full 10 minutes of Rocket League time has been persisted here onto this clock. It's a 3-2 man-up play, looking for the power in it. But Kazarife doesn't get behind the ball, and even with some of these mistouches and failing to just possess it by Ontario Tech, you don't see the Golden Gaels really finding the dagger to shove it through. They're giving a lot of respect to the counter game. Even though they've really been booming this out for open field space, it's not like much has been threatening from it. Overcommitting, the third man will stay back, and that's a good idea because the counter is now occurring. Kazarife looking for the dunk. They try to slap it in. Will Waterfall again, sticking nearby. A second dagger, a third. No, they cut it off bare. No one can score.
They've done everything they could on that play except for score. They got to keep it up though. And another great opportunity, and there it is. Finally, they break through. It took a whole nother game, but it's Kazarife coming up big for Ontario Tech, and they'll take the 3-2 win in overtime to take game number 1.
Wizro, they flipped just a little bit too off the edge. They were trying to go from the interior of that ball and just connect it to make it go to the corner, to the side, to anywhere, but it didn't even get to their fender. Wow, that was sweaty to start off a best of 5. That was just game number 1, and that was built off of Ontario Tech with Muhammad be able to get that one big breakaway, and they ultimately find it, but it took 5.5 minutes of overtime minutes. Whew. Look, that was just game one. Wow.
I know, right? And for me, I did see Queens adjust in their overtime strategy. There was a few times for sure where it seemed that it didn't seem like they were covering their end defensively. Now, eventually, Ontario Tech was able to expose that. That wasn't the reason why they did fall in overtime. They did succumb to that pressure that was being put on by Ontario Tech, but Ontario Tech caused that all the way. Their offense started to light up. Both teams did play conservatively in the overtime period, but I see them really just being back and forth in this close throughout the entirety of the series.
Yeah, this is gonna be a squeaker. Now you got to think. All right, after a long overtime, you get the coach involved. You get everyone to just be able to calm down. You need someone to rally the troops. Don't hype them up. They actually need to be massaged. They need to be relaxed because after that much sweat and the early persistence of a series where Golden Gaels, they looked like they were in control. They looked like they were in control. They were on 2-1 and they were trying to get yet another goal and just everything kind of just disappeared. You got to be able to just get yourself back in control because otherwise you're going to let this one go crazy and the Ridgebacks will take advantage of that.
The more tense that you get in these games, as you see this wide open chance, they do eventually get back to it, but the more tense you get, the more difficult it becomes mechanically. All right, quick answer, no. Okay, now we're going end-to-end Hailmonayman. At first it was just defense after defense, but now it's just been shooting both sides out of the cannon.
Goodness gracious. PE coach would be like, yeah, we're running gassers. And they're like, yes, please, thank you.
Lord, please, thank you.
I wish to sweat today, sir. And that's what's been happening so far. Looking for a floor pinch, a nice takeaway, and it will be a nice find as well. Samba Boom able to get Boomer of a clear. But look at these fist fights that we're finding it out in midfield space. And maybe that's why they felt so safe having to go to the perimeter of the cage here on the pitch, is because when they go for these midfield challenges, it is with someone holding their fist outside their window, ready to just sucker punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, it really does look like a joust every single challenge. And what that indicates to me as well, Hailmonayman, is the team that can really have a stronger second man that can read the play just a little bit stronger and add that little bit of speed in the midfield, it's going to have all the advantage. I look for teams to play a little bit quicker on the reaction in the second man to try and gain that momentum and see if they can't work something out. Because every single time you see these 50-50s, it'll favor whatever player gets there first. You got to use that speed.
Oh, speed trying to develop because Kazariv cuts a knife through hot butter. Oh my goodness, look at the passing play. Muhammad with the handoff. Wizrow recognizing he's just out of position, and Twinkle Toes, they had to make a choice. Sadly, there's just too much net to cover. What a passing play. What a team play by the Ridgebacks to get on the board.
And used every inch of that Batmobile as well, the longest car in the game in order to reach it, but they did at the end of the day. And you pick the car for comfort reasons and perhaps for the reach of the field, essentially. That shot was almost on target. The well ramp its way up to the other side of the pitch. Oh, a bit of a miscue there as Mohammed and Kazariv, teammates butt heads. Now the bump, Wizrow, too late to a shot high off the crossbar. Follow-up is there too, but Twinkle Toes able to do just enough. It'll fall back down, and now they'll play it to corner, but Twinkle Toes has full possession and comms saying that you can take your time, but he took a little bit too much. Wizard will have to clean it up here at midfield, and they will play dump and chase. As we have 2:35 left, it's still a 1-0 Ontario Tech lead.
Yeah, but it feels like this clock is just melting off of the middle of the screen. We've gone so swiftly through a half of a game, and you get little love nudges here and there between Kazariv and Mohammed. Little doing a good job, baby. But now from the sidewall, as Kazariv becomes just a kite flown into the sky, the first man at the top of the box for the Ridgebacks are able to at least find a piece of it, because otherwise that could have been another freebie. Golden Gaels. Look how often you were talking about how if there's that much second man rotation, maybe that's the indicative difference. Kazariv is really filling that role, being the one to challenge just after the initial play, and that's really been putting Golden Gaels on edge.
Yeah, you could tell red alert, where is this man? Because he was the difference maker in overtime, and again has the first goal here. Now putting on more pressure as he'll allow it to touch just the top of his car to roll it up, ramp it up rather, the wall. It'll be Twinkle Toes to follow from there. And not really challenged though. Every touch needs to find a teammate here. need to be a little bit more clean on their way exiting their own half of the field. It just hasn't been that way or felt that way. Zimpa's got an opportunity there, and it was Dexter, the freshman, able to dig that off the back. Now in transition, looks down. Great passing play off the post. Now the follow-up shot is there, but Wizro able to rotate in time to make a big save.
It's when you're wishing that the net is just a pixel or so wider. It was so clean, so nice, so crispy on some of the communication, which has been sorely lacking for the Golden Gaels. You've actually seen some of their back passes, and they're not really finding themselves in better positions. Oh, and I love already seeing Kazarife. It doesn't matter if a defender is right next to the ball. They're going straight up. They're trying to be able to sandwich them because they know at minimum they have that 1-goal lead. It's not much insurance, but it's enough for them to just barrel through, get a lot of this pressure mounted, and Golden Gaels have been just so stuttered by it. They don't know how to respond, and they have less than a half a minute to do so here in game 2.
Yeah, TikTok, right? And you got the first 2 goals in this series and haven't done much since. And it's all because of them worrying about where he's at. I think they need to loosen up. Like you mentioned, it legitimately is translated. To now 10 seconds left. Opportunity for Mohammed to try and place this one away. Wasn't able to get to, but look how long it takes for Queens to get back on it. By the time they do, it's right back into the hands of Ontario Tech. Now they have to go all the way down the field. It's Wizro, though. Had control, but it gets shut down at midfield. Ontario Tech goes to match point.
Goodness gracious. Kazarife getting 6 shots on goal. Just the full majority of that team. And I mean, what a flip of the script too, because wasn't it Golden Gaels that really was that major initiator in game number 1? And it just seems like they folded like lawn chairs and everyone else is watching a fireworks display, which is coming in the form of Ontario Tech. They have been so sequentially successful getting back upfield. And we talk about the second man. Kazarife is obviously being an MVP status and just making a show of it. But Muhammad, they're making huge impacts to open up that space.
They are, yeah, constantly just in that rotation and confident. And that's where confidence goes a very long way. We talked about it in game number 1. It translates into rotations as well. If you need to make adjustments, you need to be able to rely on your teammates in order to make adjustments around that in order to really make it flow continuously. Because that little adjustment, it actually makes changes a little bit more than you might expect. And so everybody has to be on the same page. And that's where coaching comes in too. That's where the entire team needs to get together and be prepared when they come into the other game. Otherwise, you're all over the place. And right now, that's how it feels for Queens. It's not too late for them. We've seen them be dominant, but it has to start with figuring out what it is that is just getting them off of their game, out of their rotations, and out of their comfort zone.
You got to think that comes from these seniors. That comes from like just being able to have that level of experience, put yourself in a position where you're not having to be overly reactive and you're acting at your own pace. Do it within this first minute. This is going to be the most important first minute because this is either going to be a big score that can open up for either side or you being able to just kind of at least put the Ridgebacks in a cage. This oppression, this rotation, and the width at which they are right now keeping them pinned back, this is what they need to build upon.
They'll attempt to do it. Queens, not a single goal in the last 7.5 minutes. Actually, that's not even counting overtime. My apologies. Over 10 minutes of non-scoring from Queens. 1 goal would do them wonders. And is that it? It's free. Sure enough, it is. And Simba will be credited with it. It's just a breakdown there from Ontario Tech. Like I mentioned, though, you don't worry about it. Don't worry how it happens. It's just the fact that it does.
As Muhammad getting a bit too antsy to get right behind Kazarife. I mean, that wombo combo, he sees him. He wants another kiss. But Simba boom, more like Simba just kind of showed up, got it right around him. Bit of a loose air, but that is going to be the one that makes the loudest crack of the whip for the Golden Gaels. They feel like they're right back in it. Oh, but it's Muhammad making up for that earlier mistake.
There you go. Said he was creating space for his team. How about creating points? Wizro was on that back wall, you're right. Oh, he got a touch on it. And it's so difficult to defend from that back wall. And you have to be there too, positionally. Because if they go off the back wall, you know they're capable of the double touch challengers. So you need to guard it if it happens. And then when you're the last one back, trying to dive at that, it's so difficult to do. And he did a good job to attempt it, but still surrendered that goal. Bit of mishap here. That Queens side, Ontario Tech now back on it. It's Nazarife with that challenge. They do step up. They have the next touch. Dexter, a little bit late to get back to it, but he had to play third man too until Nazarife could get back.
Twinkletoes is not being as efficient as they were before. That is a player that was so mechanically gifted, or it still is, but also hitting with some efficiency in game number 1. A huge reason why the Golden Gaels were so successful in that early interim when they had a lead. But since then, it's been a lot of once but not happenings. Ontario Tech can put the pressure on. Dexter will get a piece of it, but that's actually going to be Wizrow. Flip reset, back pocket on the adjustment, uses a lot of extra boost, and that's a giveaway! Oh, Twinkletoes, that was blood in the water. They had a chance, but it just got taken away.
Oh, their toes were twinkling. But now they go look back on the other side. It's off the wall. It goes to Muhammad. Will try and create something here. The backtracks instead for third man. This shot is taken by Twinkletoes. Now the touch back, and it eludes the defense. They had no idea he could get to that. And the toes continue to twinkle, and so do Queens.
That's magic. That's fairy dust. Oh, man. The softest bit of English was put on there. That's an A+ grade. And they're able to just sneak it on through. There's not been a lot of heat on both the shots, but it's simply about beating Ontario Tech when they least expect it. So good looks. Kazarive on the flip, the delay, and they do call up. I think that was for Dexter to come into that shot. It's going to be Muhammad waiting as a third man. He's actually been too far up, and now Simba Boom trying to be Simba God, but he just can't get a dead center.
Good idea, though. Queens, you got to ride that momentum. You know, when goals have not been there for you, you have to continuously put them in and keep that momentum. Otherwise, you got Ontario Tech the other way, nobody back, and they find their way through. It's Kazarive to even it at 2.
That was just, again, one of those just faulty situations. You had both Simba Boom and Wizrow go for the exact same ball. This is where the coaches and all the captains and all the players between the games, they have to be able to calm each other down, keep the communication on lock, be able to get to each other because they're in each other's way and they're doing and duplicating the exact same measures. So now the 2-minute mark is tied at 2 instead of you still being up 2-1. That has got to be a coaching moment right there. And looking for the turnaround, Twinkletoes will vacate, and you can maybe see them start to become a little bit more passive.
Kazarive will launch off corner. Looking to pressure, but that one was a little bit of an errant pass as it just hung in the air for what seemed like a lifetime. That'll allow them to transition, but Twinkletoes was just a little bit too far forward positionally in order to make something happen. Wizrow back wall, trying to get the Twinkletoes follow-ups there. Simba Boom, Queens back on top.
Passive, nah, all in. Wizrow on the set, a second thereafter, and Simba, that was an all-in play. You did have one rotating out. I think Wizrow may have been that first man, but if that had bonked off of any defender, we'd be turning this one to the 3-2 instead for Ontario Tech. But it's the Golden Gaels. They forced their way through the rampart, and this one's going to be beaming in from the corner. Got to be ready if you're on defense because Wizrow was right there.
And Dexter was being boxed out too, so good support there from Ontario Tech to get back to him and give that support that he desperately needed. But Kazarive off this side wall, he's got plenty of room to work with. You've seen him do big things. Almost had the double touch, but 2 commit from Ontario Tech. Now look out. Here's Wizrow. He pops it up. Now we'll try to go back wall. Maybe push it down to his teammate. Kazarive did a good job to hang with it, but now that's loose in Queens. Another one. They've got a 2-goal lead.
Twinkletoes had disappeared, but some extra magic is starting to brew for the Golden Gaels. They send a few extra challenges after they make the initial attack, bring it to the box, find the ricochet, and then they're able to finish it off. Looking pretty good, Ontario Tech. The Ridgebacks are now gone a bit quiet. Some of the passing plays not panning out. They've been finding too many bouncing too high. Simba layup for Twinkle. Guess what? They have a hat trick.
And they pull it back. Now they're going to cause drama. Call them the Drama Queens, as in it won't be a sweep. Instead, they step out to this 3-goal lead. And after, what was it, 10, 12 minutes of non-scoring, no goals. Now they've got 5 to show in this one game. For Ontario Tech, you're left scratching your head. You haven't seen this attack as efficient as it is right now. They still have holes that they have to work on if you're Queens. You still have left yourself in what would be nasty situations if you don't get the goal to go. But when they're clicking, Queens can be very dangerous, and we've seen it in this one.
They're looking for one another in open field space. You got to see it just begin to manifest right there at the top of the box, and that is exactly the kind of play that has punished OTSU. So we will not have another sweep tonight. This one is going to be going to game number 4. Golden Gaels, they're living strong, at least a little bit longer as they find game 3, 5-2.
The games were so close in the first 2 that you figured that we wouldn't be seeing a sweep, but also at the same time, Ontario Tech had been efficient offensively, and Queens had trouble dealing with it. This time around, not as much. When they let in their first 2, it was all Queens after that. They really stepped it up and took advantage of the plays that they could find down the field and took what the defense could give them and really just inched their way down with good comms in order to find those little gaps to score in the first place. Like I mentioned, yes, they do have gaps of their own that they got to fill in. Their third man, and I know this is a style that they like to play, but it maybe seems to be a little bit too far forward in a lot of plays. They have to make sure they have that locked down, tightened down, especially if they get down early in this next game, because their backs are not going to be off the wall any more than it was in that last game. Remember, they need a reverse sweep to get back. They'll need 2 in a row.
Yeah, and this is also, it's an interesting attack too, because they're never trying, unless it's just a free net, which has happened a few times, but they're off the virtue of a couple of the first misses in that game number 3. They're always looking for secondary and tertiary touches. They have great midfield passing awareness and just slowing the ball down in possibly the worst position for the defense to have to recover. I think I've seen that when it comes to like pro players like Furia. They would do the same thing. They just get right in front of your net and they're like, hey, here's the ball, also whoop, and you're and it just didn't go where you wanted it to be. So maybe the same thing is also going to manifest. Get to see how now Ontario Tech will respond. They had a very close game number 1, a steadfast 1-0 in game number 2, and finally we get to see the scoring spread. But I mean, Bear, do you think this is enough momentum for the Golden Gaels to just rush and maybe get to that game 5 quickly?
It certainly can be. Obviously, it's up to them to be able to continue into this one with that same head of steam. So whether or not they're able to translate that is to be seen. Like, I think you made a great point, though. I really do. I think, when it comes to settling it down on your own defensive end, because I mentioned, taking your time at the midfield when you have that space. But how many times do you see pros pull it back on their own wall first before looking forward? And then that way you get your teammates involved in the comms. You find your way out defensively. And I think that's actually a recipe for success more so for Ontario Tech, who's found Queens a little bit too far forward. You get them to commit and bite like their tendencies say they will, then you'll be able to expose it. But for Queens, I see them riding their momentum. I think they get the first goal. Whether or not they're going to finish it off is a dart throw at this point for me.
Yeah, right now we're actually in the middle of kind of a tech pause as we get ourselves going over to game number 4 here momentarily. I just realized that I have like the most like quintessential cars for this because I've got. Oh, you're not going to get to see him. All right. All right. I was about to start riffing.
We trust you.
Thanks, producer. You're my favorite. All right, we'll go to game number 4, I guess. Woo! And this is also one of the passing situations that if you are the Ridgebacks, you have to turn into these counter plays that have been so punishing. Get that ball out of your box. That has hurt them when it's hitting around those backside posts.
The longer you stay in there, it's almost needless to say, but look at the Timo, but they can't connect. I thought they had it dead to rights, and maybe they should have, but they weren't able to capitalize, and it will sit in midfield. Queens, are they able to ride that momentum into the next one? Not if you miss opportunities like that.
Queens waiting slowly. Now, this is a dangerous situation. No one was to that back wall. They were waiting for that to drop down, and I think we saw a couple times where Ontario Tech, they were bearing down upon them from that sidewall, and like you were talking about a moment ago, they're trying to slow down the overall rhythm of the game. They don't want to allow Ridgebacks a free look, just kind of an easy preamble, because they've been trying to say, okay, let's drop this to the floor, let's get a big clear out of it. But now everyone's on the ground. That's a dangerous position, but they only send one, so that attack is snuffed out.
Twinkletez will have a minute, so we'll look to push it down to himself, and they will eventually make do with some time ticking off the clock and really just piece things together. Left for Wizro. That shot will be detected easily. Dexter as he'll look midfield. Cross he goes, but it's read all the way by Twinkle Toes. That second man we were talking about, Wizrow on it. That's not who you want to see from Ontario Tech getting on the ball right there in the slot. This one will be easily handled by Kazarife. He'll try that bump on Twinkle Toes to try to get an outlet pass. That will fall to Dexter. He will clear, but needs to be a follow-up here, and he's not able to get the touch.
This is slowly devolving into my diamond lobbies. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Some of these are just very calculated. Big challenge, crossbar, Bauer, downski, Kazarife. Sometimes it just comes down to one big challenge bear. They just find an open field, less than 3 minutes, they find the first score.
Legitimately just found Kazarife there as that one tapped off the part of the defender there at midfield. Not sure what happened, but I didn't know you fell all the way to diamond, but
welcome.
By the way,
when you don't play, okay?
I feel like we slide like that, but we'll need to get back to it. But yeah, you're right. It hasn't been exactly polished play. But both teams have been in the trenches trying to fight whatever jitters or mistakes that they've had in the past little bit to try and polish up a little bit. That one will find Kazarife, but right back in with a purpose from Simba. Wizrow, what a save. Dexter keep it out and get a pass off. Mohammed will try and chase and start a little bit of chaos of their own on the offensive side.
So I'll correct myself. Not diamond lobby, just former champ lobbies, okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
every diamond's just a failed champ. 2 minutes to go. Ontario Tech have at least been able to put up semblance of a wall in the way of the Gaels. And really that gold is starting to really dim. No extra polish to it. Oh, a passing play that they wish they could develop just in a moment's notice, but reaction time wasn't there. Dexter trying to go upfield with not a lot of resource, and really no one has it except for Dexter, who found that corner. Now everyone full up for the Ridgebacks. And look at this defense. They are all on top of one another. And again, it's kind of just a small bit of profit for them that they didn't have anyone from Ontario Tech ready to punish. Another pickup. Dexter looking for the putback, but Wizrow dig it out.
Not a lot of urgency shown from Queen's Golden Gaels right now. If somebody has the next challenge in rotation and they don't have boost, there's no comms, right? There's no, hey, I don't have boost, can you take this? It's when I get there, which is definitely not the approach you want right now. Dexter will corner it. Turns it nothing. Simba back on it. Just played lower 50-50. Boost has really been lacking here for Queens in a big way.
Feel like maybe their back corners just aren't respawning for them. That's about how it's looked, and they've been on the same rotational path with one another. Now you finally get them running downhill, and they're going to have to run even quicker. They're running out of time. That clock gets louder and louder with the less amount of points you get, especially when you're behind. Kazarife ends up passing it. They nearly get a bump in the demo. Neither one will develop. And Ontario Tech is looking very comfortable at just continuing to sling this one upfield, send one player, and then prioritize rotating back. That's a free net. Oh no, Simba, boom. They have had accuracy issues, and that continues to plague them here.
It looked like it caught him by surprise that it was even available in the first place. And now that's not good. Wizrow diving back, nothing doing. 18 seconds left in Ontario Tech. Again in the driver's seat as Dexter just put it past the diving arms of Wizrow.
That's the freshman right there, Dexter, making an impact play upfield. Had to make sure they just got behind it. Now, two seems mighty tough for the Golden Gaels to overcome. Muhammad looking for the first kill. That one's going to go to the second man. Dexter looking for another, but they've already got the insurance necessary. With only a few seconds remaining, this bouncer's too slow, too low, and just not good to go. That's going to be Ontario Tech. They take this one to the battle for Canada as the Golden Gaels will fall 1-3. Why not get a consolation prize on their way out the door?
Yeah, it's the worst feeling in the world, the worst goal to ever go in, I guess. As, they were able to find it. If it would have been a little bit sooner, obviously it would have been a different story. And they found 5 in the last game, but could not find the victory at the end of the day. Yeah, you're right, Ontario Tech gets that early start in the season. An advantage in bragging rights, more importantly, in their eyes, over the Ontario natives on the other side. Queen's Golden Gaels, flashes of brilliance. Other than that, they just couldn't get on the board.
Yeah, it feels unfortunate. But you know what? They had a really good substance at the beginning of game number one. And then, I mean, that was really kind of the tick that started the bomb that eventually was going to go up between both these squads. When you have a 10.5 minute game number one, very close. And it was a 1-0 in game number two. Both these teams are going to be neck and neck whenever it comes to this division, but it was the breakaway overall, the control, and just being able to kind of outlast the Gaels of Ontario Tech. Just they looked just the tiniest bit more measured.
Yeah, every single play had a little bit more of an intended target. A lot of times, you'll see Queens in the offensive zone trying to just keep pressure any way they can. Even if it means diving at a ball, maybe they shouldn't, right? And a lot of times those corners are very dangerous for them because when they try and challenge and they feel like they can get there, it just seems like they weren't able to. The urgencies tended to die a little bit on the defensive side, which is kind of rare, after a 5-0 victory and you have that energy pumping throughout your veins. You think the comms would amp up a little bit, and maybe they did. Maybe it was just a little bit of lack of coordination. Either way we chalk it up, it's not a good feeling, but you still took a game. Like you mentioned, they'll be in this division pretty closely throughout the rest of the season, and I'm sure they'll get that revenge opportunity, whether it be in the playoffs or before then.
Yeah, very true. Also, hey, because I didn't get to do it last time, thank you so much. Golden Gaels. Well, this is Ontario Tech. Boom, there that goes. It falls onto my keyboard. Hopefully I didn't hit a good key.
They're waiting for your talking point on that. No, it's so funny. Like the production team was like, oh, he's pulling out his cars. We got to go back to the gameplay.
Yeah, but there's no more gameplay left for tonight. That, in fact, was our last match of the night for this awesome run of NECC Week 1 Esports. Overall, you got to see so many titles this week. Make sure you come back to us. NECC, they're going to be rocking and rolling this for several more weeks. And also thank the production that's able to do this for tonight. It was Zolix and Polaroid, and of course, Bearlight hanging out with myself, Hailmonayman. Make sure you go back to us on Monday where there'll be some Valorant action starting about 6, 7, 8 p.m. somewhere in there. Make sure to check him out on Twitter as well as follow this channel. But for right now, you guys have been awesome. We're going to enjoy the rest of our night. You have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.